Again, everybody, I'm Rick Sanchez. Less than 3 hours ago, Iran's president wrapped up his speech at the United Nations. Let's try and get right to it because it was a clear attack on the United States, even though, and this part's interesting, he never really mentioned the United States by name. He lit into the invasion of Iraq, also accused the U.S. of both widespread violations of human rights and promoting an arms race at the same time. Deborah Farrick's been following the story for us. She's joining us now to bring us up to date. Go ahead, do so. What happened?
Well, Rick, you know, this was classic Ahmadinejad, full of counter-accusations, positioning himself as a leader, not just of Iran, but of Muslim countries worldwide. And the reason, says one critic, is because he's trying to hide the fact he's losing power at home in Iran. Now, during his speech, he declared the nuclear issue now closed. He attacked Israel, and he accused the United States of violating human rights and supporting terror.
Human rights are being extensively violated by certain powers, especially by those who pretend to be their exclusive advocates, setting up secret prisons, trials, and secret punishments without any regard to due process. Extensive tapping of telephone conversations have become commonplace and prevalent.
He also talked about the nuclear issue, didn't he? It's interesting because what he seems to be saying is, what nuclear issue? What are you talking about?
That's exactly right. And one expert we spoke to said, in fact, the nuclear program is still very strong. The problem is that he's tried to hide it, that this was typical of the Iranian president, everything twisted around, everything thrown back in the opposite direction.
If there's one, let's go ahead and watch that.
He knows that he's going to be held responsible for terrorism, for human rights violations, for its nuclear weapons program, for its intervention in Iraq, and for the suppression of his own population. He preempted this, attacking the rest of the world, that it's you that is violating human rights. It's you that is not respecting the rights of women. It's you that is supporting terrorism.
You know what's interesting? If there's one place, that's the point I wanted to get in, where you would think he'd not be received well, it's New York City, especially because of the comments he's made about Israel. What kind of reaction did he get today around the UN and while he travels from one place to another? I understand he's staying at a very posh hotel, by the way.
He is, and you know what, this hotel is actually right across the street from the hotel that the president's staying at, so they could actually send each other room service if they really wanted to. But in any event, there's a lot of dynamics at play in this whole issue. For example, Tony Blair saw him coming towards him and apparently just ducked out of the way so that he wouldn't have to come face to face with him. Laura Bush passed him in the Great Hall, and he was riveted to her. He kept watching her, but none of them said anything to him. They didn't want to make eye contact. They didn't want to talk to him. But there was a really powerful moment that came after the speech at a press conference, and that's when the wife of one of the kidnapped Israeli soldiers basically looked at him front and center and called on him to intercede with the Iranian-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon for proof that her husband and two other hostages are still alive. He completely dodged the question. He wouldn't answer. He wouldn't look at her. He just glossed right over it. But it was really powerful to see her, this wife, this woman, part of the Israeli delegation, saying, give me an answer. Show me that my husband is still alive. And she was just confronting him.
Yeah, we forget sometimes that for some people this is a very personal issue. It's not just geopolitics. It's very, very personal. Deb Farrick, thanks so much for bringing us up to date on that.